In September 1988, Michael telephoned Catherine and Joseph from Liverpool. He was lonely and missed his family. His tone was weary. I need a break. I've been thinking about all of us. The family is falling apart. Do you know that? Catherine told Michael she agreed with him. What can I do, Michael? She asked. Michael let out a long sigh. I'll talk to you and Joseph when I get back, he offered. He asked to speak to Joseph. Michael then apologized to his father for some of the material written in his autobiography, Moonwalk, which eventually be published by Doubleday. He explained that he hadn't written the book himself and that the critical portions are written by someone else. Whenever Michael is publicly critical of Joseph, he feels bad. Joseph wanted to know if Michael was planning to rejoin his brothers after the battle tour. Why one might wonder why he would try to push that sensitive issue when Michael was clearly reaching out to him. Michael was firm about it. He told him he didn't want to rejoin the brothers, and please don't push me about it. Joseph then told Michael that anything he had ever heard about him wanting to exploit or profit from him, his success, is simply not true. I don't want him to be involved in your business, Michael, Joseph said, according to Catherine's memory. I have money problems. Yeah, but all I wanted for us is to be a family again. Do you want that? I do want that, Michael said. I really do, Joseph. The conversation ended on a hopeful note. Catherine and Joseph felt optimistic that they would soon have their son back. For Joseph, the timing couldn't be even better. He was in serious financial trouble ever having lost $700,000 in bad oil well investments and over $250,000 in his Joe Cola beverage company. Plus, a judgment had been filed against him. 3 years earlier, he had entered into an agreement with real estate developer and entrepreneur Gary Barron to purchase the Barron Entertainment Center complex in Hollywood for $7.1 million. Joseph indicated that money was not a problem, said Gary. I had no reason to doubt. Michael had just bought the Bills catalog for $47 million, so I believed that the family had access to money. And in fact, Joseph laughed when I brought up the question of finances. What the kind of family I've got? Money is no object, he said. Gary and Joseph entered into a deal by which Gary would own 15% of the real estate, Joseph with the other 85%. The two would be equal partners in the recording studio, nightclub, and private club in the building. Joseph shamelessly bandied about the notion that Michael would somehow be involved. He told me that Michael will come and visit the club often and that his presence alone will make the place a success, Gary said. He said that Michael will come in through the guard gates and take the private elevator, and no one would know when he was coming or going, which Michael would like. He said that access to the recording still would be sensitive, which is also good for Michael. What makes you sure that Michael is going to be wanting to be involved with this? Gary asked. Look, if I'm involved, that's a known fact. Michael Jackson will be involved, Joe answered confidently. You can bank on it. If I'm here and Catherine's here, Michael's here. Joseph decided to pay for the building in cash rather than attempted to secure a mortgage with his poor credit. He wrote a check for the full $701 million and he gave it to Gary, telling him not to deposit until Friday. On Friday, he called him and told him wait until Monday. On Monday, he called and said wait until Friday. This went on for a few weeks until finally Gary deposited the check, which was promptly returned for lack of funds. Years later, the matter was resolved in court. It was ruled that Joseph had to either buy the property or be responsible for damages incurred by his having stalled the sale to another buyer. He would not afford to buy it. Gary said when he finally got Michael to serve and find it if and how he had led his father into thinking he would help out. He was in a limousine at the time and somebody walked up to him and handed him a paper. He wanted to sign it. thinking the person wanted an autograph. It was a summons. One can only imagine Michael's annoyance to be served a summons in a bad business deal involving his father. It certainly wasn't the first time, nor it was the last. He ignored the demand and appeared for a deposition. In October 1988, damages to Gary Barron had been assessed at $3 million since Joseph did not have the money. Gary obtained a judgment against him. To this day, he has not collected on it. It was a debacle, he said, and all because I got myself into the Jackson family mess. It was the sorriest thing I ever done in my life. I could imagine that Michael Jackson, who earns all of these millions, could not give his father the money. I couldn't believe that he will let his father go down like that. This building will have been put to Joseph on his feet once and for all and independently of the family. He would never have had to deal with the kids anymore professionally. I tried to appeal not only to Michael but also to the other kids, all of whom were isolated by hard nosed lawyers. Not one of them cared about Joseph's security, and as much as I grew to dislike Joseph, I also felt sorry for him. In fact, Michael never misled his father to thinking he would assist him in the investment. Joseph had telephoned Michael before he managed to buy the complex to ask for assistance. Michael made it clear to him that he wanted nothing to do with it and warned Joseph not to get involved in it. Still, Joseph wrote the check out and then hoped to find a way to cover it. When he couldn't, he called Michael again. It's only a few million bucks, Joseph said. Help me out, Michael. Michael said no, absolutely not. He was never going to bail his father out, and he could not be convinced to do so. Even by Catherine, he has to learn. Michael told me of his associates. If I give him the money, he'll be back for more and more and more. Damn it, I'm just not going to do it. I'm not doing it. Joseph also asked some of his other children for help, including Janet, all of whom told him they could not or would not assist him. Perhaps he didn't think the investment was a good one. Considering Joseph's track record, Larry Anderson, a friend of Joseph's for 15 years, explained Joseph loves his kids. He hoped they would help out. It seems like a lot of money, but really it isn't. When you think of all was made on that family. By December 1988, the proposed Jackson reunion shows in Korea had come to a pass, or Joseph Jackson would forever have the large burn judgment hanging over his head. I met with Jerome Howard, Gary Barron said. We started comparing notes on how this wacky family is being run. In the final analysis, it didn't look good for either one of us. At this time, Michael was in Japan in his bad tour. Joseph thought if he would obtain his brother's cooperation, he might have leverage with which to obtain Michael's. Therefore, a Jackson family meeting was set up at Havenhurst. In the family's movie theater, first Joseph and Catherine spoke to Jackie. Tito, Marlon, Randy, Jermaine, and Jermaine's fiancée, Margaret Melandio. Jermaine and Hazel divorced in July 1988. He and Margaret will eventually have a second child. The brothers had to be approached carefully on the chance they might not agree to go to Korea. For Joseph, it was as if they were going into the lion's den. That's how suspicious the brothers were of him, and if anyone who would have anything to do with him, like Jerome Howard. After about 2 hours, a relieved Joseph came out of the theater. He was sweating as if he just ran a triathlon. So now look, he told Jerome, who had been waiting for him in the living room. You go in there and do what you can, but don't talk to them about anything but contracts. Don't mention the moonies and all that stuff, because then they're gonna not want to do it. Just talk to them about all the money they're gonna make. That's it. When his roommate into the 32-seat theater, he found Jackson family members scattered all about it. I thought, damn, these people don't even know how to sit near each other, Jerome recalled. Jerome stood in front of the screen and delivered a speech about the proposed concerts. He talked about the millions that would be made and how it's publicly could be generated. He didn't mention the Moonies or much about the financial backing other than Kenneth Choi's involvement. Immediately afterward, Marlon rose from his chair. No way, he said. Forget it. No more family tours for me. I don't care how many millions are involved. I learned my lesson the last time. Count me out. Marlon was finished with the Jacksons, and he had ambivalent feelings about Michael. The brothers had hoped to go with Michael on the band tour, if not in a full reunion capacity, maybe just as part of the act, singing a melody of old hits. Michael was elusive about the possibility and never actually said that he wouldn't be using them on the show. He was the one who had mentioned it to them, but given the family dynamic, who knows or remembers why in the end, though, he decided against the idea. I hear from friends what was going on, Marla complained later in an interview. If he didn't want to tell me the truth, he shouldn't have said anything, but instead, he lies. The last time I got a straight answer from Michael was back in 1984. No doubt, Marlon was still stung from the most receptive Michael had told him, which was that he was not moving out of Havenhurst and into Neverland. Still, Marlon had a warm spot in his heart from his brother. When he had trouble extracting himself from his mediocre CBS recording contract, Michael called the company's president, wanted negative, and secured his brother's release. I just don't want anything to do further ruin the way I feel about Mike, he said. I think we should work together. It's better when we don't. Well, too bad for you, Jacob said to Marlon, because I'm in. Me too, said Randy. Germaine conferred with Margaret. The two whispered back and forth to each other urgently. Okay, he said finally. I'm in too. Count me in too, Tia piped in. But what about Michael? Randy wanted to know. What are we going to do about Michael? We don't need him, Jackie said. We're going to do it ourselves. Without him, Catherine agreed. Oh, let's not bring Michael into this. She said, please. Isn't there some way we can do this without him? Jerome shook his head. He had to be careful how he put it. But the fact that the Olympic Stadium is sold seats 60,000 people and the brothers may not be able to fill in on their own, they never performed without Michael, and this was no time to start. Besides, the Koreans wanted Michael Jackson a lot more than they wanted the rest of them. I think it would be best if we approach Michael, Jerome said cautiously. We should at least give him the opportunity we have to make this much money. Look, just leave him to Mother and me, Germaine offered impatiently. We're talking into it. How? Rainey wanted to know. Germaine turned to Catherine. She took a deep breath and sighed wearily. I'll see what I can do, she said. I'm just afraid if we push too hard, we'll lose Michael forever, and then, what will we do?